Okay, so we're going to open a new document in Illustrator. We're going to go to the Print tab. We're going to choose Tabloid. And if you want to see the size of that, it's 11 by 17. Now you have an option of going on a vertical orientation or portrait orientation or a landscape or horizontal. Most of us are probably, I think, doing vertical from what I remember in our designs. We're going to go ahead and do 2 artboards because we're going to be looking at 2 variations of this design in Illustrator. So I want you to go ahead and choose 2 artboards. I want you to also add a bleed, and so that if we were to print this, anytime we're doing a printed project, and this is essentially, even though we're not going to be printing it, we want to set it up as if we were. So a bleed means that's the color would go off the page anywhere we have color going to the edge of the page. So I'm going to add that to a 1/4 inch. The bigger the file, the bigger the size of the piece, I like to make that bleed a little bigger. So I'm going to do a 1/4 inch bleed. We're going to work in CMYK again as if we were going to print this, because if we were on campus, we would be printing this project. And I want to make it so that you could print it. If you want to go on campus and print it, you could. This is definitely available to you. We're going to hit create. And now you can see you have, let me close my libraries. You have 2 side-by-side posters. Now I'm going to add a little bit of space between them because this is really tight. So I'm going to click onto my artboard icon here in the toolbar. And I'm just going to click on this first one, and I'm going to hold my shift key down and just move it over a little bit just to give me a little space so that I have space between these 2 artboards so they're not quite so close. I want to make sure before we get anywhere that we've set up our workspace. And so you can see there's a workspace under Window, Workspace, and there's many choices. So we're going to do layout because that's what we're going to be focusing on right now. So it's layout. So I'm going to keep this on layout as my choice. Okay, so you should have your
I'm sorry, is
workspace.
that under window?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks.
Window, workspace, and then you choose
Okay,
layout.
workspace. Okay, thanks.
All right. So there, we should have 2 artboards. This red line indicates the bleed, which is why it's off the page. It's off the page. And therefore, you have these 2 pages. So we're going to focus on just artboard number 1 initially. And what your first step is going to be is we're going to open up the window layers panel. Okay, here's our layers panel. And we're going to create this first layer, and we're going to just name it. It's a great habit to get into is to name our layers. So I'm going to double click on where it says layer 1, and I'm going to call this sketch. And this is where I'm going to put my sketch. And then down here at the little plus, I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to name this art. So I have 2 layers, one named sketch, one named art. And my intention is to import my sketch layer. So I'm going to go to File, Place, and let's see, I'm going to have to pick, I don't know if I have a, let's see if I have a sketch that I can bring into this. I can't remember if I have one. Oh, there's my demo. Okay,
Excuse me, how we separated the 2 artboards, how we just add the space between them?
Oh, you select the artboard icon here on the toolbar. And then you select into the artboard and you can move it.
Can you do that one more time?
You select the artboard icon in the toolbar. You click on your artboard and you can move it. Okay, do we all get it? Okay, so what I've done is here's my sketch. And this is not my sketch, of course. This is Shitung's sketch. And I brought the sketch in. So this is the sketch, and I'm putting it onto my sketch layer. And then I'm going to click next to the eyeball and lock it. Oop, I'm going to unlock it because I see it's not quite lined up. Once I have it all lined up, I'm going to lock it. And now I can't move my sketch. My sketch is going to stay right where it is. It's not moving. Okay, so here's my sketch layer. Now I can take this, I'm going to unlock it for a second. I can also take something, I can take this layer and I can dim the image to 50% by double clicking on the actual square where the image is showing, so that it lightens and so it's not so dark, because this is a really dark sketch. And so it's sometimes helpful, and I can bring it down to like 30%. So it's not so dark, so I can see what I'm doing over it. So if you have a really dark sketch like this one, you can click on the little square where the picture is, go to dim images, and I'm going to make it light. And then once I have it where I want it, I'm going to lock it. And so now I can't move my sketch, and my sketch is here. I've dimmed it so I can see what I'm doing, but I can still see what I need to look at for the design.
So when I imported the sketch to the left layer, it just appears at the art layer. So should I move it to the right one?
Yep, move it to the right one. Move it to your sketch layer. And that just means that you weren't selecting the sketch layer when you imported it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
all. So you can easily just move it down by
Okay.
moving the little bar at the right here.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, do we all have our pieces now in the sketch layer? And we've dimmed them.
I didn't know we were supposed to be following along. I asked earlier in the chat if we were just supposed to be watching.
You can do it either way. If you, and you know what, thank you for bringing that up. If it works, some people, it helps to follow along. If it's better to just take notes and watch, that's fine too. I will record this so you can always come back to it. So you don't have to follow along unless you want to. If that's the way that you learn better by following, do that. If you're better at watching it, then do that. Either one is fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for asking. That's a good point though. Okay, so we're up and we have our sketch in. So now we're going to be clicking on the art layer, because that's the layer. And now if you try to do something here, like if I grab something, it's not going to let me do anything because I've locked this layer. So if you find like, oh my gosh, I can't do anything, it's because you've selected the locked layer. You need to move up now to this art layer. And now I can select like the circle tool, and I can now draw, right? Because I'm on the art layer. So now I'm going to start off with shapes. So I encourage you, like we talked about last project, is starting with shapes versus any other tool. When you click the Option or Alt key, you can draw shapes from the center. If I hold the Shift key, it keeps them symmetrical. Excuse me. If I don't hold the shift key, it makes them more organic. And since these circles, if you look, aren't perfect circles, they're definitely more hand-drawn organic circles. I don't want to hold my shift key down because I want these to be a little more free form and not, and I'm going to take the fill off so I can see my outline. They're not perfect circles. They're more like ovally circles. And then I can come in here and adjust them as I need to. Okay, so here's my first circle. And right now, I'm just going to make my circles a bright color again, just so I can see them over my sketch. And I'm gonna, since this design in particular is made up of lots of circles, I'm gonna start with just kind of blocking in my design by using the circles. Now I'm clicking the Option or Alt key because I want my circles to build from the center so I can kind of get them where I want them. It would be much harder to build them coming off the side. That makes it really, I think, difficult. So, and I still might have to like draw and then come over here to my selection tool and move my circle. You do have to switch tools in between things. And now I'm going to go to my direct selection tool because I just want to pull, I'm going to use the scale tool. And I'm going to select it in the middle and I'm just going to adjust this, go back to my selection tool so I can move it. And the idea is just to keep kind of playing. And I can kind of stretch this out and play with this a little bit to get it where I want it. So, okay, that's where I want that one. I'm following my lines in my sketch. I have another one. I'm going to select the Option or Alt key and start building my next circle. And then use my selection tool to kind of adjust the scale. So it's where I want it. So like you can see, these are all circles. So I'm building it all up based on the fact that these are all circles. And then I'm going to do the next one. Okay, and then I have two more up here at the top, which I didn't do yet. Again, it's just pretty quick. I'm pretty quickly just blocking in the shapes. Oops, I didn't hit my Alt Control Option button, so it kind of grew weird. Okay, that's where that is. Let's move this over. I can move this. Obviously, this is a very big circle. The name is in. Okay, and then I have one more. Okay. Okay, so here you can see I've quickly blocked in all of my circles for my areas that I'm going to be building this design in. So now I want to use the shape builder to kind of define each one of these areas so that I have the shapes exactly where I'm going to put my information. So what I'm going to do is select all of these guys. I've selected them all. And I'm going to go over here to the shape builder tool. And I'm going to start determining what shapes I need for my design. So for this one, I'm going to go, that's one. That's one. That's one. That's one. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Hold on. I'm going to undo this. You can undo, which is Command Z. Because I want to show you one other thing. Okay. Nope, I did too many. Object. Redo ellipse. Edit. Redo scale. Edit. Redo move. So you can kind of go, I mean, you can go up like, I think up to 200 times. Okay, sorry, I forgot one thing. I want to make sure I get the corners of my poster. So I'm going to do a rectangle over the whole thing on the bleed line, not on the corner of the page, but on the bleed line. Okay, so I got the rectangle added. So that's what I forgot. Okay, so now I have all my circles and my rectangle to get the shapes correct. Now I'm going to use my shape builder tool, and this way it'll get me the corner without the other part of the circle I don't want. Oh, undo. See what I did wrong. And so I got to zoom in because I realize if I'm too far apart, I kind of lose what I'm doing. So here I'm just drawing the spaces that I want. And then the next space is over here. I want this all to be one space. And then I want this all to be one space. And then I want this all to be one space. And then I want this all to be one space. And you can see I'm just drawing, connecting the spaces. This is going to be just these two. And this one is just going to be just that. And that's it. So I should now be able to take my direct select tool, which is the white arrow, and delete these extra pieces on the outside. I don't need them anymore. I should be able to just select and delete, select and delete, and select and delete the stuff on the outside. Okay. So now, in other words, if I wanted to just block off these, just to show you where we're going to put information, I could select these different shapes and I should be able to color them in each shape. Hope I didn't select an area. You see how they're all now, they're just the shapes that I'm going to be using in my design. You see, so those are now just shapes based on my layout. So I'm going to just delete that fills right now. And what I want to show you is this design, for example. I like to use this as an example because it has a photo. So this is a photo on the right. So in other words, this element is a photograph that is going to be put into this design. So the way that we would do that for this unique shape. So I'm going to copy this shape and put it over here. So here's the shape, right? This is the shape, and I'll flip it so you can see it, that my photo needs to fit into this shape. So what we're going to do is, let me bring a photo in. I don't have that photo. I think what I'll do is, let's just quickly grab a photo off the internet. That's probably the fastest. So I'm gonna, just to demonstrate, we're gonna go, oh, I know where I can go. I have photos, sorry, I'm forgetting. I have libraries. Get this out of the way. I'm gonna go to my libraries and grab a photo real quick. Okay, let's just bring, okay. Here's a photo. It's obviously not that particular photo, but it's a photo. So here's our photo. I'm going to scale it to the scale I want it. I'm going to object, arrange, bring to front. I'm going to grab my object, put it in front of my photo, right where I want it. So I'm kind of aligning my photo up. So I want to get most of the banana, let's say, in my screen. I'm going to select the photo and my shape, both. And I'm going to go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. Now I have my image in the shape. So like a puzzle piece, I can bring it over here and pop it in. So there's my photo in my design.
Do you do that
That
again?
makes sense? Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we have our shape. We have our photo. We're going to line our photo over it. And if it's under it, you want to just go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Okay. So we get it lined up where we want it. Select the shift key down. So you're selecting both, or you can just draw a box over both. Either way, you want to have both things selected, both the photo and the shape. And then you're going to go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. And now you have your photo in the shape you're going to be using. Okay. Now there's a couple other things that's happening on this. I'm going to zoom into this corner up here. So here is this pet sitter, and they're all little icons of dogs and cats. So this is another example of how we could use repeating shapes. So here I'm grabbing an ellipse, and I'm going to start again holding my Option key down and building it out from the center, holding my shift. This time I'm holding my shift because I want them to be perfect circles. Okay, and then I can build a couple things. I can choose the size of my brush. I can choose if it's uniform or if I want to make it like thin to thick. Usually you're going to want to use uniform. I can also change the width. I can say I want it half point or 1 point. I'm going to stay with 1 point for right now. And then I can also choose to decide to copy these. There's a couple, well, before I even copy it, there's a couple things I want to consider. Over here on the right is the stroke menu. And here it tells me the stroke. It tells me that it's aligning in the center, which is fine. It's allowing me to adjust the corners, and that doesn't matter because I'm doing perfect circles. But I can also choose like how much of a stroke I want. I'm going to stay at 1. I'm going to then select the circle. I'm clicking on the line, and I'm going to hold my Shift key down and my Option key down so that I can pull it over, holding my Shift and Option key down, and I just made a copy. And then I can use the Command key and D for duplicate. This is what we saw Aaron Draplin doing, is duplicating. So you first pull one out using the Option key, and then to do the same spacing and the same movement, you just duplicate it, which is Command D. And it'll keep making duplicates, as many as you want. So obviously I don't need that many, so I'm going to click those off. I don't need one here. But here's my 4. And so then I can select these 4. I can go Option, Shift, and duplicate those 4, right? And then I can go Option, Shift, and pull one over to fit this. And then I can go back up to this top one and go Option, Shift, pull it down. And then I can just grab these, oopsie, not that. Grab these 2, Option, Shift, and pull them down. So now everything's in a perfect grid. It's not as hand drawn, and I can then decide to go in with my pen tool and then start drawing in things like the ears and the things that I'm going to do to make things, each one a little more unique, right? So, and then I can kind of start building on it and put their faces and stuff. But I can keep making copies of that elements too. I can also decide, okay, I want to play with this. And then I'm going to take these 2 elements, I'm going to hold my Shift key down so I select both of them and go up here and up the stroke so it feels like it's, you know, where I want it to be. Or do I want to flip it and make them like fills? Okay, and then I can do the same thing. I can quickly draw in the eyes, the nose, I can use the curvature tool.
I have a question. What if we want to have like a colored background? Would we have needed to do that already?
No, I actually would put the color background in last, because if you put the color background in, you won't see your design, your sketch. So the last thing I would do is bring in my color background. And I could do that multiple ways. Is I would just take a rectangle and I would go to my bleed line and just fill it in like this. As you can see, it'll just cover everything. So I want to go into my window, layers. Where's my layer? Window, layers, window, where is my layers? There they are. Okay, too many things open. And so what I would probably do is add another layer and call it background. Oops. Move it to right above the sketch, and then take just the rectangle and slide it down to background. And that way, and I'm going to change the color because right now everything else was red, so you're not seeing anything. So there's my background color. So now it's obviously my sketch is beneath it. So I would add that color last because again, it's going to cover your sketch, but you can kind of take a look at things with the background color on and with the background color off. Does that make sense?
No, well, it does and it doesn't. Because I guess I'm trying to understand how it would show up when you're finished. But anyway, I guess I'll figure it out. Is there a way to make like a color gradation too with like a garnet for the background?
Yeah, there's a gradation tool and it's right here on the left. And the gradation tool has different choices to it. So you have to select your solid color. So for me, example, I'm selecting my gray background. I can choose what type, if I want it to be a linear or a radial or a freeform. And so I'm kind of choosing what I want. So let's try this freeform. This is one's a little more unusual. And I'm going to double click. I'm going to see the option. Oops, where did it go? Why isn't it showing me the options? What am I doing wrong? Maybe I have to go over here. Option.
So I think I understand the background now. So never mind. All right, I get it. It clicked in my head.
So I can choose the color. The way this one works is I can choose the colors on the actual gradation. So for example, if I want it to be blue, it'll be blue there. If I click over here and I want it to be more orangey yellow, it'll be more orangey yellow. Here, it's white. And here, let's say I want to add a little bit more limey green. You see? And then it's also letting you move these colors around.
Oh, thank you.
So this is kind of a newer feature, this kind of more freeform gradient. It's kind of like that Instagram look, right? So yeah, so that's your background. You can make it a gradient, you can make it a solid. But again, it's one of the last things you're going to add because again, you need to draw all of this from your sketch in Illustrator. And so you got to see your sketch to do that. So once you have everything drawn, then you can go ahead and add in that background. Okay, good questions. All right, I'm going to pause here. Questions, how are we doing? Any other specific questions? I appreciate that. It's helpful to know what you're wanting to know how to do relevant to your design.
I have a question, Siobhan. So like if we don't have typical shapes like circles, are we just using like the like we're creating our own shapes like we did the first time with the botanicals?
So yeah, you can create shapes. So for example, you can take, remember we have not just circles, we also have polygons and stars and ellipse, but you can combine different things to create shapes with the shape builder, just like I did. So yes, you can create your own shape. You can also freeform it with the pencil or the pen tool if you really have such an abstract shape that you don't think that the shape tool will help you. I just think the shape tool can be much faster than freehanding it usually for those of us as we're starting out.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Yeah, Katie.
So mine, I guess, kind of has to do a little bit with the background as well. But like for mine, it has kind of like the moon. And I was thinking of adding like a moon light. And then I also have like two street lights as well on the side. And I was wondering how you make like that kind of glare or shadow of that light on Illustrator.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add another layer, and I'm going to call this our moon glow. Oh, come on. So that's going to be also in the gradations. So I'm going to put, I'm going to just choose one of my shapes and pretend that I'm going to turn it into a moon. So I'm going to choose this kind of center one. Where is it? There we go. So this guy here, oops, art, let's lock our background. I'm going to make, where is it? Oh my gosh, I have to zoom in. I can't seem to grab my moon shape that I want. There it is. Okay. I've got a little weird thing there. Okay. That back. Okay, here's my moon glow shape. Okay. So here it is. I'm going to go ahead and just for kicks, I'm going to fill it with like a white color so you can see it. So there's my moon. Okay, I'm going to make this my moon. And you want to see it glowing from beyond, right? So there's a couple ways we can look at this. We can, I want to take it, make it go, the glow go beyond. So I'm in the gradient tool, and obviously a radial glow is going to be more moony, if you will. But what I want to do is, I don't think I'm going to use the glow. I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to cancel what I just said. I'm going to go up to Object, Select, Object. And I'm going to say, I'm going to add a select. I haven't done this in a while, so I have to think about it. It's not going to be, it's going to be feather. Maybe it's under object. Ah, yes. Go under object, and we're going to go to path. And we're going to offset path. And this is going to make that edge that we're looking to make around it but I wanted to feather, so hold on, cancel. Let me just see. Give me a second. Let me find my feather. I'm going to do my search because I can't find it. And I know it's here somewhere. Stylize. Ah, feather stylize. Okay. Radius. So but I want it to be the opposite. I want it to be inversed. So I'm going to say feather, and then I'm going to go object. I want to inverse it. So making my moon glow, which isn't terrible coming on the inside, but I want it to go beyond. Oh, I know what I can do. Okay. Object, let's do make it a path. Path. It's already a shape though. I don't know if it's going to let me do that. Outline stroke. Offset path. If I do an offset path, and then will it let me feather it? I'm sorry, they've just changed the way I used to do this. So now I'm feeling a little unsure of it. Now let's try feather. Okay. It won't do it on just the outside path. So if I go stylize, feather, oh, outer glow, that's the new one. Okay, outer glow. So effect, stylize, outer glow. There you go. So now you can decide how far out it'll go. And you can choose the lighting. It'll be the preview. And choose how much opacity. Like I would bring that down. I would say normal. And it's using the color. So here you want to change your color to white or whatever moon color you have, right? So it has that soft glow. And then you can make the blur as big as you want, you know, as far as it's coming out.
I have a question. So I have a basic question if I could ask you.
Of course.
So I have my artboard set up and I have my sketch in. But for some reason I don't know if it's placed properly because I put my sketch layer and that's the blank, that's the artboard, and then I don't know, my layer, I don't know if I did this wrong. For some reason I can't remember, and I was trying to go into tracing mode, but does that make sense?
Okay, so you have your sketch layer. So let me zoom out for a second. You have your sketch layer, and then what did you try?
Yeah, so I have both. I have my artboards and I did image file place.
Okay.
And it's still floating around. The image has the X over it, and it's not like I don't know if it's placed into the artboard or if it's
Why don't you share your screen with me? Let me take a look, and then Quinn, I'll answer your question right after this. So yeah, why don't you share your screen so I can see what's happening?
I think I have to wait for you to, okay, unshare your, thank you. All right.